Hi, my name is Matthew Yohov, and today we will talk about the PKI infrastructure, and I will try to do this really oversimplified. So let's begin. Asymmetric encryption. So the main purpose or the main principle of the asymmetric encryption that we have two keys. One of them is called public key and the second one is called private key. The way how they operate together, if we encrypt some information with one of the keys, another key can be used to decrypt this information in exactly the same format. But the interesting thing in here is that if we will encrypt information using one of the keys, but we'll try to decrypt information using the same key, we're not going to get any result. So they always have to work in the pair, meaning, and that's what means asymmetric. It means that the only way how to decrypt information is to use the second key from the pair. Otherwise, there is no way how we can decrypt this information. Now, interesting thing which most people don't know, or at least confused with, is that asymmetric encryption works both ways, meaning that if you will encrypt something with the public key and then you can decrypt it with the private key to receive the same information. In this case, if you will encrypt something with the private key, you will also be able to decrypt it with the public key. The information in the middle is going to be different. So in this case, we're encrypting ABC and we're receiving something in the middle, some kind of encrypted text. When it decrypted, we're getting it to the same initial format as it was ABC before. But at the same time, if you will try to encrypt something with the private key, or another key from the pair, the information in the middle is going to be different. But the decryption with the second key from the pair will lead us to the same information as it was originally before the encryption. Next is the digital signatures. How digital signatures work. You're probably already familiar what is hash or what are the hashing algorithms. So usually hash is when we're processing a long text or maybe message or something else, and based on the information in it, going through this certain algorithm, it can be MD5, it can be SHA, variety of SHA, and so on, we will get certain limited and fixed size line of the hash. The interesting thing that the digital signature is generation of the hash from the text or from the information. So we're getting hash and then we're encrypting it with the private key, meaning that if we got the information, we generated the hash and we encrypted it with the private key, everybody will be able to decrypt this information using the public key. But we are the only one who can generate this signature. We can give the public key to everybody in the world and everybody can verify that indeed it was signed and it was verified by the private key. But nobody but us can do this. I mean, in this case, the owners of the private key. So let's review just in a little more details how it works. Let's imagine that you have a client PC which is connecting to the server. So we're connecting and the first thing that happens, server pushes the public key to the client. So this can be a public key or certificate or in any other way how it's transmitted. Anyway, the client should know that this is some sort of a key which can be given to anybody. Next, let's say that the server wants to send some message. It can be text, it can be email or any other information. So when this server wants to push this message to the client, he creates a hash based on this message. And then the server will encrypt this hash using the using the private key which he owns. After that, the message is going to be pushed to the client. What the client will do? The client will generate first of all, he will decrypt the digital signature and will receive a hash which was generated by the server, or maybe some information which it's able to decrypt or decrypt using the public key algorithm. Then the client will also generate its own hash from the message, and he will compare if those hashes are the same. If the message was tampered with or if somebody used not the private key from this guy and we were not able to verify the hash matches between our hash which we ourselves generated from the message and the one which was encrypted by the private key, it means that digital signature is wrong. But if the hashes are the same, it means that digital signature is okay, and we in this way are verifying that everything is good and that it's a legitimate message signed by the actual sender or the legitimate server. Let's go next. Now the certificates. One thing that you need to understand is that certificates and public keys are not the same. Many people use them interchangeably, and I will explain why, but this is not the same. So the certificate file will contain the public key, and this is why many people are confused between the public key and the certificate, because public key is part of the certificate, but it's not the whole certificate. Also in the certificate you will see address, location, URL, maybe usage, and dates when the certificate is legitimate. For example, there's going to be in every single certificate you will see information that this certificate is valid from this date to some other date. And this will definitely be encoded in there. And the most important thing in the certificate is the digital signature, which was generated by some legitimate authority. This is the way how we can verify that this certificate is actually valid, that the public key that we have in here can be used, that the address and usage is actually valid as well. And this is very important because that is the way for your computer to understand that the public key and all other information is legit, and we can use it for encryption and decryption operations. Now let's go into a little more details and how this all connects together. So let's say that you're going to any website. It can be Facebook or Google. Like for example, in here you can see the certificate which we opened when we opened the facebook.com web page. So you see that there are three levels. Like for example, in this case, DigiCert SHA-2 High Assurance Server CA, and the facebook.com certificate. So I depicted all three of those in here. There can be 3 levels, that can be 4 levels and more, but in this case, just the simplest with the Facebook, we have 3 levels. There is a list of the public certificate authorities, so-called root certificate authorities, which are embedded in your browser or your operating system. This is a responsibility of Microsoft, of Google, or of Apple to embed the legitimate public certificates, which can be used to verify all other signatures. But how it's all used? The public key of the top level root certificate is used to sign the certificate of the intermediate authority. And the way how it's done, we can, because we have this root CA embedded in every browser, in every operating system, we can use it to verify if the second level is actually the legitimate certificate or not. And by the way, all top level certificates are going to be self-signed, but you're blindly trusting them because they're embedded in your browser or your operating system, because you're trusting Microsoft or Apple. But anyway, this is the way how it works. Then this certificate authority or intermediate guys, they're using their private key to sign the certificate of the end server. It can be web server, it can be email or anything else. And because we can receive this public key or the certificate with the public key and digital signature which was signed in there, we can verify the digital signature of the end entity using this certificate authority, intermediate certificate authority. So, and this is the way how all the PKI works in the world. Next, process of requesting a certificate. So let's say that you as the person want to generate a new certificate for your web server. First thing that you will do, you will generate yourself private and public keys. Then you will send the public key with the so-called CSR or certificate signing request to the certificate authority. The well-known authorities can be Let's Encrypt, DigiSign, or actually many others. But anyway, you as a person will send your public key with the CSR or certificate signing request, which will contain information about what is the website for which you want to use it, or what is the intended use in general for this key. And they will use their private key to create a digital signature for your public key. The public key with digital signature and usage which they will place as certificate authority into this public key, this overall is going to be called your certificate. So then they will give you just this certificate and you can use it on your web server or any other entity in your infrastructure. Now let's review how SSL TLS works. Imagine that you have a client PC, so you have your browser or your computer, laptop, maybe phone or anything, and you want to open a web page. So first thing that you will do, or your client will do, is the establishment of the TCP session. There's going to be a three-way handshake and the session is established. Next thing, your client PC will generate so-called TLS hello, which will be sent to the web server, and he will say like, hi, please give me a certificate for the domain.com, which you are trying to open from your web browser. This is very important because on the web server there might be multiple different websites and multiple different certificates, and TLS hello is sent because we want to request the specific certificate which we want to use for this session. Anyway, after the server received this TLS hello, he will send the appropriate server to the client, appropriate certificate to the client from that specific domain name. The client, together with the server, will agree on the symmetric key or so-called session key, which is going to be used. And this session key, the negotiation of the session key, is going to be encrypted using the public key from the client, because when we encrypted it with the public key, we know that only server will be able to decrypt this information, and even if anybody will intercept it, they will not be able to decrypt it because only server has the private key. Anyway, we're sending this information to the web server. Web server decrypts that information with his private key, and then they can start using the session key for the symmetric encryption. In the TCP session, we are purposely using only symmetric keys because asymmetric operations are very CPU heavy. So in the real world, it's used only for establishment of the connections anywhere, but it's never used for the actual session. The session key generation is actually a little more complex feature. It's using Diffie-Hellman algorithm or any other, but for simplicity, let's just assume that that is the way how it works, like in the oversimplified way. Anyway, based on this, we established the TLS session, and inside of this TLS session, we're actually sending the HTTP request. So like probably 20 years ago or maybe even 10 years ago, there were not that many websites which even supported TLS, and technically HTTP requests were just sent over the TCP session. So now we're just using extra layer of encryption, which is the TLS session, which is inside of the TCP session. So let's review this in even more details on the example of the Versa SASE client when it registers with the captive portal or with the SASE portal on the Versa OS device. Let's imagine that you have a client PC where you have the Versa SASE client, and you're trying to do the registration with the SASE portal of the Versa system. You're entering the information such as portal domain.com where you want to connect. Then you're specifying what is your enterprise name, and you're giving the username, which should be used for authentication. The first thing that happens is the TCP session establishment, the three-way handshake, and we're good to go. Next, on the Versa OS, there's going to be a list of the certificates which can be used by the system or pushed to the client, just as on any web server. And in this case, captive portal is actually going to be working as the web server. So what will happen in this TCP session? The client in open without any encryption will say that I'm connecting to the portal.domain.com. Please give me this certificate which corresponds to this portal.domain.com. And the Versa OS device will actually push that certificate. Now, how do we know that it's actually the legitimate certificate? on the Windows PC or Mac OS PC or on your iOS device or Android device, there is going to be a list of the trusted root CAs. That is something Microsoft, Apple, or Google are responsible to supply to you together with the operating system. And you will use actual trusted root CAs, that's an example of the Microsoft trusted root CAs, to actually verify if the digital signature on this certificate is the valid one. So this certificate must be valid. It cannot be invalid. It should be either signed by somebody, or you need to trust the CA's authority which was used to sign this certificate and put it in the trusted root CAs. Anyway, after we verified that this is a legitimate certificate, we will generate the symmetric key for the TLS session and actually establish that TLS session. Inside of the TLS session, we will send the enterprise name and the username, which is going to be sent to the captive portal. The captive portal will use its connection to the authentication provider. It can be SAML, it can be LDAP, it can be Active Directory, it can be Radius or any other integration which is supported on the Versa device, and will authenticate if this is the correct username and password which user has provided. If the authentication is correct, the captive portal will inform the SASE portal module that we need to push the configuration. And that's exactly the next step which will happen. So we will push the configuration to the client, because we know that he authenticated that this is a legitimate client, and also client knows that this is a legitimate server. So server to be verified by the client is pushing the certificate, and the client is pushing the username to the server for verification. So we know that both of them are verified, and we established a proper session and we received the config. This finalizes our simplified overview of the PKI infrastructure. I hope this was informative for you, and thank you for watching.